Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. On today's show, it ain't only rock and roll. If the Rolling Stones are doing augmented reality, Nestle gets a little weird, maybe a little Willy Wonka on us. Square closes like $1 trillion more in funding, and we're joined by co-founder and CEO of SessionM, Lars Albright, who gives us a little bit of mobile advertising advice. So come, take my hand. We're riding out tonight. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 96 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We're recording this live on one of the greatest days in rock and roll history, September 23rd, 2012. Man, my name is Rob Woodbridge from Untethered.tv. With me, as always, from his home office in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Who's that guy right there?
It's Asif from the Location-Based Marketing Association. And you can find us at the LBMA on the Twitter or also on the .com. And I guess it's one of the greatest days in rock and roll history, Rob. Tell us again. Right, yeah. Springsteen.
This man, okay. The messiah of rock and roll, the greatest living legend in the music industry, turns 63 today. Not only that, he celebrated his 63rd, he rang in his 63rd birthday playing in New Jersey until 2 o'clock in the morning at his concert last night. Unbelievable. The man is 63 years old. He's putting on 4-hour shows, and I wish a huge happy birthday to Bruce Springsteen, the man. If you caught the reference at the beginning of the introduction, so come take my hand, we're riding out tonight to Case the Promised Land. That's a Thunder Road lyric. Yeah. And I'm also wearing my classic, It Ain't No Sin to Be Glad You're Alive. We are celebrating Springsteen heavy today. Asif just doesn't know. This is not about location-based marketing. This is about Bruce Springsteen's career. He was born on this day. No. Yeah, I just had to get that out. At his birthday, we,
no Jim Cuddy.
He's right, no Jim Cuddy, right? But you know what? We have celebrated. We have actually on this episode. Things happen on Sundays because I heard word that Clarence Clemens had a stroke while we were actually doing a podcast. You remember that? And then I heard that he died the following Sunday when we were actually doing a podcast. So we have the Sundays of the history now. I don't want to hear about Bruce Springsteen's death. I just want to enjoy his birthday at 63. And he will be in Ottawa on October 19th, and I can't wait to see him. So I'm done with that, Asif. This is the podcast, the video podcast, the television show you come to learn about all the things that are necessary, all the things that are important in the location-based marketing world, where Asif and I try to fill in the cracks so that you don't have to stay on top of all this news. You just pick it up on a Monday morning in a podcast form. Listen to us on double speed. We do sound better on double speed, and it only takes half as long. But you get all the news you need about the location-based marketing world right here on this very short podcast. And before we dump into what is a crazy week, we've got Rolling Stones news, which is pretty incredible. They're going to live forever. We've got Kraft, Five Guys working together with Foursquare and Facebook, feeding America. We've got a launch of a company, huge funding. We got a great resource. But before we get into this, we're going to talk about you and FSMU in Chicago, Asif, this past week.
Yeah, so I was on the road for an extended period of time. We talked about my Denver trip last week, and then I moved on to Chicago for FSMU, the Food Service Social Media Universe Conference, where some of the greatest restaurant chains in North America gathered, along with some of the fantastic, amazingly agile minds in the mobile and location and social worlds. And big powwow, lots of good sharing. Some of my idols were there: Aaron Strout, Chuck Heyman, Jay Baer. Some of these guys are just are just amazing to listen to, and you can just take it all in and go away feeling like you've got new energy. So it was really amazing. I think the big takeaway for me this week was just seeing that a lot of the restaurant chains are actually moving forward now from a year ago when we was at the same conference. There was a lot of hesitation. We're not sure what's going on with mobile location. We don't even know what to try. But a year later, a lot of people have tried things, have seen some success or not. But there's definitely been some movement, and people are moving ahead. And the other thing I saw heavily is a big focus on analytics and measurement and looking at some of those tools out there like Venue Labs and Moment Feed and Shoutlet and some of these things. I just wrote a piece about it actually that I'll air in Street Fight Mag this coming week, I think on Wednesday. But sort of these measurement tools for looking at and tracking location-based engagement and check-ins and aggregating all that content. And the restaurant industry is really getting behind that kind of stuff. So lots of good learning.
So the key takeaway was that the focus on analytics is actually on return on investment. The things that they're actually tracking this stuff now, which is very important.
They're tracking it. I wouldn't say so much return on investment yet. I mean, people are still in an experimentation phase. But there's definitely a focus on measuring and tracking and monitoring and seeing what's going on with this stuff. Not just, let's just do a Foursquare campaign and see how many people come and, whatever. It's a lot. There's a lot more rigor to it than there might have been a year ago.
Oh, I remember those experimentation days in high school, Asif. That's what it's like, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Even Springsteen was kind of fueling that for you, I assume. So, yeah.
Exactly, a man crush. I fully admit that I have a man crush on Springsteen. I'm happily married. Man crush on Springsteen. Yeah. It's interesting that I love these conferences that are so hyper targeted towards these industries. But I love the fact that the language that they're using, and that's what it sounds like to me, that the language that they're using is much more advanced than it was a year ago. Because I think we were very concerned a year ago about this industry, and it seems that maybe they're not quite there, but at least they're talking the right language this time around. And they've got the right guests, obviously, speaking with you guys being there. So who else? Who else is going to be there? That's cool. Where to next? Anything for you? Where else can we get some some feedback about some of these conferences that you're going to?
Well, I'm heading down to LA on Tuesday for a quick little trip to participate in Social Media Week LA, which is this whole week is Social Media Week coming up. So yeah, I'm down there actually talking about the same kind of analytics stuff with Shoutlet, which is one of the companies in this group of companies we're talking about. So the conversation continues, and then I'm back in Chicago the week after for a retail industry event called Ramp, and that'll be huge. Every major retailer, and it's the first public presence and keynote by the MCX organization, the Mobile Merchant Customer Exchange, which is led by Walmart and those guys around mobile payments. So it'll be very interesting to see what they have to say first.
Well, I can't wait. I mean, I love getting these firsthand reports about the things that your takeaways from these conferences is really important, really great insight. So we will keep doing this. And if you guys have any feedback, you know how to reach us. I'm not going to hit you with emails. You guys know. If this is your first time, check out the website, untethered.tv or theLBMA.com, and reach out and let us know if these little segments are valuable. Certainly. It's either this or I would have spent 5 minutes talking about Bruce Springsteen. So I think that you got much more value out of this. And for you Springsteen fans, hang on till the very end. All right, well, what do you say that we dive into the stories of the week? We got five stories. And you know what? Oddly enough, we're not even going to talk about the iPhone 5 release because I think that's been done to death. We'll pick it up a little bit in one of our funding stories. But it is out there. It is. I'm carrying one, and it is a great device. That's all I'm going to say, right? Why don't we jump into our 5 stories?
Let's do it.
Well, this first one is, typical. Like, I think that the Rolling Stones stopped being a rock and roll band, and when they became, there was a great article about them. I don't even know if it was in Rolling Stone magazine. It may have been in Business Week. Who knows when it was? But this is a $1 billion+ corporation, the Rolling Stones Corp. Right? They make so much money on all their merchandising. They are more advanced than a lot of bands, and they're no longer a band. They're a corporation. They've lost the kind of rock and roll edge that they once were, and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards will now live forever because they are what? They're involved in a little bit of augmented reality. Not really them, but this is a pretty cool thing for the Rolling Stones. I like this.
I do too. It's really interesting. So they have a new album coming out, a greatest hits 50th anniversary.
Oh, that is great. That is crazy.
These guys have been going. It's called Grr. And
it's because that's all they can say. It's like grrr,
that's Grr.
Grrr. I wish I could speak.
Grr. Yeah. Anyhow,
50 years.
Yeah. So they put this thing out, and they're working with Erasma, which is one of the big augmented reality players out there, and so launched this thing last week, September the 20th. And basically, if you've got a smartphone with the Erasma app, The sort of the graphic image around this album is a King Kong gorilla, King Kong style gorilla, and basically what they've done is because it's the 50th anniversary, they've picked 50 cities, one for each year the band has been around, 3,000 different locations, and famous buildings, the Sydney Opera House, the Empire State Building, etc. And if you're in one of those places, you can hold up your phone with the Erasmus app on it, and you can see the gorilla on the building, like King Kong, and you can basically capture that, take a photo of it, tweet it out, and for a chance to win prizes and whatnot. It's iPhone and Android supported. So it's kind of a neat way to sort of build some fan engagement around celebrating the 50th anniversary and the release of the new album.
This is it's a pretty cool thing. I'm just pulling up the website right now, and you'll see it as it comes up. It just takes a little bit of time to load. But the Rolling Stones it's a big gorilla, and with the Rolling Stones lips on it. I love it. It's just, these guys are innovators in their own right. They are business people first and foremost, and God love them for doing this, and God love them for embracing this kind of technology. I don't know how this is going to work, but I love the Rolling Stones for doing this, and make no bones about it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's all about fan engagement. So you take these photos, they get posted up to an interactive photo wall on the official band website. The top 50, I don't know how they're selecting the top 50, but the top 50 are basically going to get walk away with swag and prizes and whatnot. And there's apparently two special prizes that I haven't seen any detail around, but I guess there's 2 grand prizes or something. Probably like you get to go on tour with the band or something, for wherever they're going. Who knows? Something crazy like that.
Classic. I'll volunteer.
Probably got to be. My guess is if that's the prize, you got to be better looking than Robert, right?
Yes.
And you have the opposite gender.
Yeah, probably, absolutely, probably a little younger as well. I'm just, I don't want to stereotype, but yes, I totally 100% agree. Well, so the Rolling Stones jumping into augmented reality. This is probably the biggest brand, certainly getting into this, like biggest consumer brand in the Rolling Stones. We're going to see how this goes. We'll be monitoring this, and if anything comes of this, we'll let you know, of course. All right, so getting from weird to a little bit creepy weirder, but cool concept. Here's a company called Nestle, and they are. This is Nestle UK. They're putting a GPS. They're embedding a GPS in the packaging of their chocolate bars, and they're calling this a golden ticket. And this, don't you find this a little bit like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory kind of deal?
I think that's what they're going for. I really like this thing. I actually don't think it's all that creepy. I think people, I talk a lot on this show when we talk about privacy issues around the importance of value, and relevance to the individual consumer. And to me, this meets that equation. This is saying, look, participate in this contest, buy these chocolate bars, buy more chocolate bars for a chance for this to happen. And everything's signed, well around this campaign. You know what you're doing, and you're trying to win this thing. And when you win, what happens? That this GPS chip in the thing is going to trigger. Some people to come track you down and give you a prize.
Hold on, I've got a video. Let's run this. It's a short 45-second video that kind of describes it, and then we're going to get into our opinions about this, which is very interesting. So here's a little clip from the video.
In the very near future, someone somewhere will purchase a chocolate bar. The bar will be equipped with a GPS signaling device. When activated, it will beam a signal into space, bounce off a satellite, and return to Earth. This will alert a secret control room, who will scramble a crack team of highly trained individuals. They will board a helicopter, find the special bar, and give the owner £10,000. Cue girly scream. Find a special GPS bar of Kit Kat, Aero, or Yorkie, and we will find you.
So, basically, you open up the package, it triggers a GPS, and these guys from helicopters come streaming down and hand you a briefcase full of cash.
That's basically it. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, again, I like this one. I hear you on it being a little bit creepy, but I think the value there's enough value here. There's six prizes. Six of the brand's chocolate bars are going to be triggered this way. It's multiple brands of chocolate bars, so it's Kit Kat, Kit Kat Four Finger, Kit Kat Chunky, Aero Peppermint, Yorkie. I don't know what else. Something else. But anyways, there's a bunch of different brands in here, so you don't have to just go buy Kit Kat if you don't like Kit Kat. I'm sure there's one of those that you can get away with. The interesting thing about this is they're targeting. They think this is from a demographic perspective. They think this is going to attract men.
Why is that?
Which I think is interesting. They seem to be thinking, this is a great way to to help grow their male demographic.
Why do they think it's for men?
I don't know. I guess they think technology wise and whatnot. Men are more inclined to kind of accept something like this. But I don't know. I'm just going based on what the press release says. I don't understand completely that, but that's what they're saying. They think this is going to appeal to men.
Well,
I mean, I could see myself doing it. So but I'm not going to go out of my way necessarily to go and buy 10 extra chocolate bars this week just because. No. I do eat chocolate, so I may be more likely to buy one of their chocolate bars when I go into the store to buy a chocolate bar. So I get that aspect of it. But we'll see where this goes. They're also, so it's not a standalone campaign. The other thing I like about this is they're integrating with some other media. So they're running a poster campaign as well. 2-week outdoor poster campaign. 3,000 posters. The posters also have NFC chips and QR pieces embedded in them that direct smartphones to a mobile landing page. And then so from there you can enter a secondary contest for 2,000 prizes of €10 as well. So much smaller prizes, but sort of complementary engagement model, let's call it, around the actual GPS, which is quite nice. I mean, 10,000 pounds is nothing to sneeze at.
No, I'll take it. And there's a great comment that I saw in one of the posts that said, "Listen, these crack GPS teams that Nestle is going to be deploying when something gets triggered are going to be finding all of these wrappers in the garbage cans. It's going to be the biggest debacle because everybody's going to be tossing these before they even know that they've won or not. And I think that this is, and the other thing is that it's timed, right? It's 24 hours." It will happen within 24 hours, and nobody knows what happens if they miss that 24-hour thing. But I'm really interested to see this. I hope that they capture these on video when they surprise people with 10,000 pounds. So good, This is really, as you said, the full loop on this, and mixed media and a whole lot of money just to convince you to basically eat a Kit Kat. I eat those voluntarily.
Yes, why? So
exactly. So, well, that's cool. Okay, well. If you're in the UK and you are participating in this, let us know. Is this influenced your decision to go and buy a chocolate bar that you would normally not buy? And I'm not saying that the Kit Kat to the Kit Kat Chunky, not that. But if you're not a Kit Kat eater,
are you going to give up your Cadbury Dairy Milk, UK people? Your Cadbury to go and buy a Kit Kat? That's
Nestle.
what I want to know.
We'd love to know, and if you are one of those winners, we'd love to know as well. Please reach out. Untitled@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. All right, third story. A weird thing, big brands. This is, we have just in Ottawa, we have a couple of these, and I know that they're everywhere in the States and in Toronto and across Canada. Five Guys Burgers, which is basically the greasiest, sloppiest, greatest, soggiest burger
out there. Yeah,
it's like meat cooked in meat fat, dripping with like extra meat.
It's the bag of peanuts that you get though that really solidifies the deal.
It's true. It keeps all those people that are allergic to peanuts away from the burgers, right? So you know what kind of people they are, right? The guys that are allergic to nuts. So Five Guys working with Kraft, working with Feeding America, working with Foursquare, working with Facebook. This is a big undertaking to feed people who don't have enough money to feed themselves.
Yeah, this is a really, really great initiative. I love the combination here. I love Five Guys. I think it's a phenomenal burger chain. I wish I could go there more often. And if I could go there, and know that I'm going to support, Feeding America or getting somebody a meal who ordinarily couldn't, that's just yet another reason to go. Not that I need one, but yet another reason.
Best line ever. I wish I could go there more often.
Yeah, there you go. So the way this works is, and by the way, this campaign that's being run by Place Punch, great guys over there. We had them on the show way back when, even before they got bought by Silver Pop down in Atlanta. But phenomenal company. And so the way this works is you go to any Five Guys and you check in, and when you check in, they donate a meal to Feeding America for every customer who visits a Five Guys location. And it gets even better than that. In addition to you just checking in and having a meal donated, because you did that, you also get a coupon for a package of Kraft American cheese slices. I mean, come on. This is a double win for the consumer. And the targets are nice too. They're looking to donate 100,000 meals. It's a 2-week-long campaign. This is just a great combination. And what I really like about this, and sort of tie it back to the previous story, Rob, is that the manufacturers now are seeing the value in these location-based platforms. Here we have Kraft jumping in. Five Guys could have done this on their own. They didn't need Kraft. But here you have Kraft jumping in and saying, no, we want to get our brand in front of the consumer via this partnership with Five Guys. You had Nestle jumping in and saying, no, we want to deal directly with the consumers and talk this stuff. We don't need to go through necessarily the retailer or whatever to push it on our behalf. And that's really the power of location-based marketing. Is these platforms give the CPG companies and the manufacturers direct one-to-one conduit with the consumer that they never really had before. They were always relying on the restaurant chain or the retailer or the whoever to kind of push their products for them. And now you have this kind of channel, and we're starting to see the fruits of that, in these kinds of campaigns. So I really like it.
And this is a Kraft-led, obviously, as you said. This is Kraft-led. So if you go to craftcheese.placepunch.com, I mean, it is this is absolutely 100% led by these guys. And we saw this in the pop industry, right? Where it wasn't the restaurants that were pushing pop forever, right? It was always the pop industry that was creating demand for their beverage, and then the restaurants would feed that demand. But this is the we're seeing that now in this kind of thing with Kraft and that's and Nestle beforehand. I think this is pretty cool. They need to do this, right? It's very competitive out there, and they need to do these things. So. And this is a great, it involves everything that you can possibly imagine in location-based marketing. Everything. Benefit to everybody. And then, a side of charity, right? That's exactly what it is. All right, our fourth story. I have another video on our fourth story here. This is a product launch or a company launch called, this is LoyalBlocks, right? Should I roll the video just so that there's a good perspective?
My name is Caitlin, and I'm the assistant manager at Nanush on Madison Avenue. We serve all organic, healthy Mediterranean cuisine. LoyalBlocks is very easy. It's an automatic punch card. It's on your phone. You walk in, you come up to us, it punches you in right away, and that's it. You don't have to do anything besides just look at the phone. When we use LoyalBlocks, your first time coming in, you get a free soup, and every 10 times you come, you get a free meal. LoyalBlocks is a great way for Nanush to manage its loyalty club. It's a really good way to bring back regulars and keep in touch with customers.
So that's LoyalBlocks, what they call the first automatic mobile loyalty program launched. Did these guys launch this week?
Yeah.
Yeah. You sound so impressed.
Yeah. I always question anything when it comes out and says, the first automated anything. It's not the first. I mean, reality is Shopkick does this. A number of people have these kinds of systems where if the consumer has an app, it can automatically check them in and, create some sort of engagement around that. I think what's interesting about this story, I don't want to completely slam this thing. I think what's interesting is, so first of all, there's two pieces to this. There's a consumer app component, and then there's a merchant app component. It's Android only. I should point that out. Android only. So this is not an iPhone thing at all. These guys are only running in New York at the moment. So it's pretty limited on where it is. But the idea here is that a merchant basically downloads this, the merchant app or business app piece of this on a tablet or whatever handset they have. It creates some sort of what they call an interactive zone around that device, is how I understand it. That's running the app. So for me, and again, there's nothing about the technology in what I read in terms of the details of how it works. My assumption, based on what I'm reading here, is that they're saying the interactive zone is being generated off of this merchant app piece. So my only guess is that they're using Bluetooth or something that's in the device itself to push out some sort of a zone from that device. And if that's the case, then I think this is pretty limited in terms of how big of a merchant can take this on. This probably can work really great for small business, really small, like a small business, a baker, a butcher, a hairdresser, or whatever, that kind of thing. I could totally see that kind of thing happening, and that's not where the Shopkicks and all those other guys of the world are going. And if you're trying to build loyalty around that and have automatic engagement and have people just come in and sort of have their punch card punched digitally automatically, which is what they're going for here, I get it. I think that makes sense. But I question, from what I've read, how they're going about creating these interactive zones and whether you actually need hardware, installed all around a store and how that's all going to work. Because if that's the case, then this is no different than any of the other systems that we've seen out there.
Well, the concept, even if the technology is different, even if you have to, you don't have to install hardware, even if it's NFC or Bluetooth or whatever the heck it is, I don't think that the merchant cares. I don't think that the consumer cares about the technology. That it's it's very difficult to differentiate yourself based on technology when the service that you're offering is the same as everybody else, and what gives you one versus the other. And I think that on a positive side, it looks like from the map of where they are, if I can pull it up here, is pretty significant in the New York area, and you'll see it here eventually if I can find it. Anyways. I saw a map and there was tons of it. They should be putting that front and center on their website, by the way. If you're listening to us right now, LoyalBlocks, you should be putting that right. You should actually list the companies that are using you as their loyalty cards, because that's an enticement for me to be able to actually be a part of this.
So for me, again, the way I've read this thing, it looks like a really good small business solution.
Right. And that's
a really good small business solution around loyalty and seamless engagement for the consumer. And if that's what you're doing, then go at it and continue to grow, because that's not the market that some of these other guys are in, and I like it from that perspective. But that's not clear and apparent from your marketing messaging out there. So the CEO's name, Ido Gaver, Ido Gaver. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, and I apologize if I'm not. But get in touch with us. We'd love to learn more about this thing, and happy to have you on the show and talk about it.
You definitely will. And I think that there's a play here for that hyper local company like this. I really do. And we all talk about this. Is that everybody thinks international. I think neighborhood. Right? You can make a great living within your neighborhood, especially enabling the companies that just can't do this on their own. And based on the map that I saw, there are hairdressers and bakers and those kind of things, and butchers. But I think that in order to make this a true success, you've really got to be able to have some continuity and have some connection points, like what we saw with Kraft, Five Guys, Feeding America, Foursquare, and Facebook, and Nestle. And what these guys are doing is they're creating a full loop here. So if I buy something at the butcher, then I get points, and then I can redeem them at the baker, or I can, what I mean? You create that little network inside of a city, and you own that city. And I think that that's one of the things that's missing in all these things. You can have 1,000 points that offer this, but it doesn't make a difference if I can't benefit from using them across the different points.
Exactly.
So I'd love to hear from these guys. LoyalBlocks, maybe I'll reach out. We'll see if we can get you on the show. And if you're there, if we haven't reached out yet, just ping us, please. And we'd love to have you on the show to talk about what you guys are doing. We're often wrong. At least I am. Asif is more right than wrong. As my wife says.
Yeah. Okay.
My wife tells me it's like I'm seldom right and wrong again. All right, our fifth story. This is a short one. Simply that Facebook, we've seen this in the news a lot with Facebook and with Twitter these past couple of weeks, is that they seem to be putting on the afterburner on ideas on generating income, right, on revenue. And Facebook, like Twitter...
I mean, they have to. I mean, like, the stock is in the tank. They got to do something. I mean, it seemed to stabilize a little bit this week.
Yeah,
But yeah, so Facebook's been testing offers, or deals for a little while now. I haven't personally seen a ton of success with it. They're quoting in this story some campaign that they did with the Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. That, I mean, it looks like a successful campaign from what they're talking about, the numbers there. But basically what they came out and said was, if you're a merchant and you're going to run a Facebook offer now, you're going to pay at least $5 to run that offer. There's no charge for the users or consumers on Facebook to claim that offer. But basically, if you're running an offer, there's a charge now, and it's a minimum of $5.
Okay,
there you go.
They have to.
Pretty simple story.
Yeah, and they have to do it, and they have to start making money, and this is, $5. Spend $5, right? They have the most targeted data on the planet because every one of us has given it up voluntarily. Voluntarily. We are the product. So they are now making $5 off of us. They're making $3.5 billion, in fact. I just, this isn't the be all and end all. This isn't how they're going to make their billions and billions of dollars to make up their market cap. But at least they're starting to think like a real company, like a revenue generating company. It just seems so nickel and diming though. Anyways. So they're charging for offers. I like how they did that, though. They've been trialing it, right? Just like Google's beta program where they don't commit to actually deploying or they don't commit to anything. So this was just a trial. And now we're going to start charging, and then it becomes official.
Exactly.
All right. Those are the 5 stories.
Right.
Rolling Stones, man. That was my favorite one. I really like what these guys are doing. But I love the 5 guys. I mean, they're all...
Yeah, I'm all over that.
You know what? All great 5. Great stories. If you have a story that you'd like to see on the show, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to feature some of the stories, user-submitted stories. If you find something that is so unique, so cool, so amazing, like the 5 Guys story, like the Rolling Stones augmented reality story, reach out. We'll put it in there. We love it. It just don't send us the same boring stories like the iPhone was released, blah blah blah, blah, maps don't work, blah 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 blah. Who cares about that? We want to bring innovation, and these 5 stories showcase just that. So thanks, Asif, for curating that and bringing it to us. Wicked awesome.
No problem.
All right, so I got, I've had a really great role these last couple of weeks for Untether.tv. I've had some of the most amazing guests on, certainly over 400 plus entrepreneurs have been featured on Untether.tv, and, getting a little bit more sophisticated, which is really cool. Sophisticated in the users, or sophisticated in the guests we're getting, and actually, I might actually be getting a little bit smarter in the questions that I ask. I don't ask what's your favorite color or do you like Bruce Springsteen anymore as my opening 2 questions. But so some of these companies that you've never heard of that are doing some amazing things, and I'm trying to extract a little bit of advice out of these things. And here is a clip from one of these things. This is a session that will be up this week on Untether.tv. It features Lars Albright, who is the co-founder and CEO of a company called SessionM. And what's interesting about this is that SessionM is... who is Lars? Well, Lars is the guy that founded Quattro Wireless. Quattro Wireless was the company that Apple bought, then took that team and put them on the iAds program, and then built out iAds. And he has stepped away from Apple, started SessionM, and I asked him, where do people start with mobile advertising? Simply because, you know what? People suck at it. And I want to help people get better at it, and so does Lars. So I asked him, I said, point blank, I said, Lars, where do people start? And this was his response. It's a short clip. The whole episode will be up online on Untether.tv this week. But enjoy this. This is Lars Albright, the co-founder and CEO of a company called SessionM. Enjoy. Speaking with Lars Albright, who is the co-founder of SessionM. He was also the co-founder of Quadro and a senior VP in Apple and one of the co-creators, I suppose, of iAds. Nobody from Apple listens to this anyway, so you can lie all you want here, Lars. All right, I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about 4 or 5 or a couple really specific techniques for mobile ad engagement. Like the experience that you've had has been phenomenal, and you've seen this industry grow up to where we are right now. You have an idea of where it's going, but from a layman's term, where do people start with this stuff? And how do they get engaged? And then what should they be building on? What should they be looking at? How do they augment their mobile advertising experience? Because a lot of them aren't succeeding very well, and it's got to be frustrating, and it could really hamper this industry if they go away feeling mobile advertising doesn't work, and we all know that done right, it's a pretty effective tool. So how would you start them off here?
Sure. Well, I think the first place to start is you got to think beyond the banner. Like don't just check the box in mobile if you're advertising and say hey, I spent my 50 grand in mobile. I blasted out banners. I got a 0.6% click-through rate. Something happened after. I'm not sure if it worked really well, but I did mobile. I'm happy that I did mobile. Or I can tell my superiors I did mobile. So you got to shift away from that. This shouldn't be about checking the box. This should be about what can I do to really connect with the consumer. That's one thing. The other is think about the audience you want to reach and what the right creative experience is going to be with that audience. So, for example, I talked about that American Family Insurance, but that was a pretty cool, they thought about the audience. They identified it to 13 DMAs, 13 cities. They thought about something that would resonate to this demographic, kind of a younger demographic, so came up with an interesting game experience. So, think audience and what's the experience that's going to resonate with that audience. Transparency is maybe the third bucket I look into, really, particularly on performance, understanding truly how things perform across the various channels. You can't necessarily expect from the networks full transparency into all the apps or publishing partners specifically, because by nature, if you work with premier partners, they're going to be a little bit protective on full transparency, but you certainly want to understand how things did across your different channels and what type of advice you can get in terms of what you saw. And is there anything unique about the program that gives you data? Like our system can tell you more about what did people redeem from a reward standpoint. All that kind of comes back into informing your experience. Those are a few. I guess thinking more about the post-click action you want to drive. What is it that you want someone to do after they've watched an ad experience is important, because if done correctly, you really can shift a lot of traffic into that. So think about that. And the last one I say, you got to embrace value exchange. I'm a big believer that if you give value, you show the consumer that you are recognizing, rewarding, and appreciating their time. Going back to that shifting 27 times an hour, you've got to give them a reason why they should invest with your brand. And our belief is you've got to incorporate this value exchange and give them something of a value that they then can go redeem for things they want.
And that was Lars Albright, the co-founder and CEO of a company called SessionM. Go to SessionM.com. This guy is somebody that we should be listening to simply because he's had the greatest vantage point from a lot of these companies that he's co-founded or founded and exited from. And now he's starting to, back on that entrepreneurship treadmill again with SessionM. So I thank Lars for being a part of Untitled.tv and also allowing us to use this clip on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Anytime I can bring some advice in, I'm going to do that. And I think that that's exactly what we need to be doing in a show like this. Certainly, every once in a while, let's take a step back and feature some advice. So that was Lars. Really appreciate it. SessionM.com. And that's it. That is our featured guest of the week. If you want to be on the show, like I think we've called out LoyalBlocks. We've certainly called out Facebook a bunch of times. We would love to have Nestle. Anybody who's won a product or who has actually participated in the Nestle, here's some opportunities for you guys to be on the show. We'll get you on. We'll do a little clip like that. It'll be great. Same quality. Be great.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say we jump into, I think, one of the most contentious stories of the week? In the funding news, we've got 2 fundings. One of them about that small, right? Little small. And one of them,
just a little.
One of them whoa.
Big implications, though. Big implications.
Yeah, small funding, big implications. Big funding, small implications. Isn't that funny, eh? First story, big funding. You cannot go anywhere without hearing about Square and their $200 million funding, latest round on a $3.5 billion valuation. Crazy insanity is just overflowing in the Bay Area. This is a ridiculous valuation. This company is not worth that much money, and it certainly like I don't even know what to say about this. You caught in a hype cycle with Square. Is that what we're in right now, Asif? It's crazy money.
Yeah, I think it's first of all. I mean, I agree with you. I think the valuation is ridiculous. I mean, like Instagram, like Groupon, like all these things. I mean, these valuations are just way out of control now. They just don't make sense. However, I think of all the companies in this space at the moment, this is one that is starting to get some good traction. They're starting to get the merchants on board. Obviously Starbucks is part of this funding. 25 of the 200 million is coming from Starbucks. We talked about that a few weeks ago on the show, and obviously Starbucks is rolling this out. And when you see a chain like that get behind it, and you hear about McDonald's, starting to do stuff around this, which we've talked about recently as well, we're starting to see the movement now towards this. I mentioned at the top of the show that I'm, a week from now I'm in Chicago for exactly this discussion, which is, all the retailers are going to be there, from Walgreens to Target to Walmart to, you name it, they're all going to be there, and they're all going to be talking about payments. And they're all going to be talking about Square and PayPal and merchant customer exchange and all this stuff. And there's just, it's a hype cycle. There's a lot of discussion around it. Nobody knows where they're going yet. The ISIS guys are falling off the map right now because the iPhone doesn't support NFC, and they're like downplaying it like they don't care, but they do care, and they've delayed all their pilots.
They're crying right now
to the end of the year. Now they're supposed to be launching like
now
this week or next week. And now there's nothing happening because they don't know what to do with themselves. There's a lot of issues right now. There's a lot of confusion. $200 million for these guys coming from City Ventures, Ritz v. Traverse Management. Obviously, Starbucks we've mentioned. They've raised $341 million in total now. They're going to need a whole lot more to compete in this space, but they're making progress. The valuation sucks.
Yeah, I am 100% behind this with you on this, is that, they've got big players on this. And it's obvious that Square is the thing that everybody is betting on right now. And, I can't blame them, really, quite frankly. Would you? When something gains this kind of momentum, you just flow with it, I think. And that's what they've done. Yeah. And I always believe this, is that, they put so much money. That's over $350 million that's been invested in the company. And the momentum is incredible. They have they're doing $8 billion in transactions right now, which is not, to me, like, that's not revenue for them. We always got to remember that. They only get a small percentage after they pay all the interchange fees and all the credit card processing fees and the banking fees, and actually pay the merchant for the goods that have been transacted. They get a small amount. Their margins are razor thin. Yeah. Right. So This is a total volume play. They're going to use this money to expand internationally. They're going to blow up. Hopefully, we get them in Canada so we understand what this is. Because
exactly. So the minute they bring it to Canada, I'm like ready to go. Like I'm ready to use this stuff for our events and get going and play with it. The one thing that always crops into my mind every time I hear about Square is, when are we going to see the relationship between, obviously this is, Jack Dorsey is one of the founders of this company, also the founder of Twitter. When are we going to see those two things start to come together? When are we going to see, some of that, co-ownership start to share some benefits? When are we going to see the
tweet to pay?
The location-based offer pushed out through Twitter and redeemed on Square? When are we going to see that happen?
Well, I think that when you start to get into loyalty, that's exactly what you're going to have. Location-based tweets pushed out from a location.
There's huge potential there, and to me, that's one of the big things. The feather in the cap that's sitting there waiting to be explained.
So what if we did this? What if we said, listen, Twitter has staved off acquisition, rumor after acquisition, offer, and all. They've just said no. They're struggling right now to come up with their own revenue model. They've closed off all the developers. They killed they basically killed API access. Yep. They're doing all of this in order to be able to close this up so that they can actually make money off of it. What if, and then you got Square. Square is ramping for an IPO. Damn straight they're ramping for an IPO. You don't raise this much money and then hope to generate some revenue. There's going to be an exit. It's going to be an IPO, or some major financial institution is going to buy it. But I would say that they're going to actually go with an IPO. So picture this: Square goes IPO, buys Twitter, 2 exits for the same guy. What do you think?
I like it.
You know, well,
I like
probably
it.
some kind of SEC issue around that, but if you start to think about it, the best place now all of a sudden where Twitter can fit, we both agreed that an Instagram Twitter combination would have been great, would have been the perfect marriage because of the traffic that they're so closely related compared to Facebook, and in hindsight, Twitter should have upped the ante and made that acquisition. But so where does that leave Twitter? Twitter could be a great commerce engine that follows through with their paid Twitter posts, and I think that, who knows, maybe Square. You heard it here. Could be crazy.
Hey, don't forget Pinterest is still out there.
Yeah, Pinterest. That's a flash in the pan. It's a dead technology. We won't be talking about Pinterest next year.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about them another day.
We will. All right. So that $200 million on a $3.5 billion valuation. Craziness. $3.5 billion. Not as crazy as Facebook's $100 billion valuation on $3.5 billion in revenue. I'll give you that. So, all right. So second small funding, a company called MapBox raising. Actually, this isn't even a raise. It's like a grant, right? It's like this is an open source mapping platform that obviously Apple has adopted for their latest iPhone. And if I was Apple, I'd be like, hey, here's $1 billion, make it work. Right, but they got $575,000 to do what? To make sure that you don't drive into the middle of the San Francisco Bay when you're looking for, a convention center. What is this?
Yeah. So OpenStreetMap. Obviously it's an open source mapping platform. Everybody, and their brother, including Apple. We've talked about this. Obviously I don't want to dwell on this too much. We're here to talk about the funding piece. $575,000 from the Knight Foundation, a grant, as you say. But the point is that everybody and their brother has been moving away from Google Maps because they started charging. Hey, they wanted to make money. They started charging, and nobody liked it, and so everybody said, "Oh, forget about Google Maps. We're going to go with OpenStreetMap." And obviously, there's problems with OpenStreetMap. It's not quite as accurate as it needs to be. And so here's $575 to make it better. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, Apple, throw them some cash and let them fix the thing. It's not as easy as that. We're being very very silly in our comments around that. Obviously, there's a lot of sophistication in building out great mapping data.
Yeah. But you know what?
And a lot of work.
So I got an iPhone 5. I fully admit it. I didn't have to stand in line for it, but I got it, and I love this device. It's fast. So I decided, listen, I'm not going to install any mapping software except for the mapping software that comes with the native mapping software on iOS. And I was a Navigon guy forever. That's what I used. I used Navigon, and I thought, it's so slow and bulky, and it's like takes up so much space on hard drive space on the device. And so I said, I'm just going to go with the iOS maps. And I was out today. We were going out to Gatineau Park, which is a great greenbelt park, for a big hike. And you know what? I tried to use the iOS maps. It didn't know where I was going. Then I said, listen, I'm going to download Waze because I want to try this open source stuff and I want to get involved in this. And I tried to use it, and it was terrible. The experience was terrible. So then I ended up going onto the mobile version of Google Maps, and it found it. So I'll tell you one thing is that the experience that nothing compares to the very first experience that I had with Navigon. It finds everything for me. It is robust data. I was one of those idiots that spent $99 on that app. Now it's like $2.99. But you know what? They have a long way to go. I hated Google Maps as well, though. I hated that application for wayfinding and directions. I think it was just a terrible user interface, terrible experience. Navigon to me really still wins the day for navigating the way that I want to navigate. Maybe I'm just used to it, but today was a total failure for all mapping software except for Navigon on my iOS device. So I don't know what that says.
Yeah. No, and in a slightly related story, again, I don't want to be jumping all over the map here, but You like that reference? Jumping all
nice.
over the map.
I like it. I caught that. Yeah.
Amazon also came out this week and said that they were going to be building their own mapping service on top of the new Kindle Fire platform.
But is that going to be Danny Moon's company? Up next.
Yes. So obviously they acquired Up Next, which we talked about a few shows back, and so they're taking that as a base platform and working from there, and going to be obviously releasing their own, like Apple releasing their own mapping platform. Also moved away from Google. Wow. So
hey, listen, we've talked about this many times, and now we're starting to see this in the media. And I want to remind everybody, we don't often do this, but we've talked about the decline of Google. We've talked about the impact that all of this is having on Google, Siri, the walk away from search, the walk away from YouTube. We've talked about this, saying that, listen, Google is going to be the next company in jeopardy. I'm not talking about bankruptcy, but there are going to be questions around Google's ability to generate revenue because everybody's walking away from it. And the biggest thing is their impact on search. Search and mobile is going to kill Google's revenue. And you heard that. You heard this here, maybe like episode number 60 or something like that. So I just, I like to bring that up every once in a while. We're not right. We don't want to be right. But when the mainstream media starts picking up this chain of thought, you guys should be listening to us. That's all I'm going to say. I scold you for not listening to us. Right, Asif?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so MapBox.
We know what we're talking about. I mean, come on.
Sometimes we actually do. Sometimes we do. All right, so Square closes $200 million. MapBox gets a little bit of $575,000. That's like a friends and family round. Like the donate button on their website. That's how much they raised there. They need some more money if we want to make this an open source world for these mapping technologies. I love the concept of what they're doing. I love what Waze is doing as well. I love the fact that companies are taking charge in this. But drop a bunch of $1 million in it. You can afford it, guys. All you guys, Amazon, Apple. Spend some money on these guys. Make them competitive to what's out there already. Don't let one company own all the data. Open this up and spend some money. If you guys got funded, if you're out there getting funded, getting some money, putting some backsheesh in your pocket, we'd like to hear about it. Reach out and let us know. We'll put you on the show right between Square and MapBox. That's where we would have put you right there. Sometimes maybe on top. Sometimes the smallest amount of money makes the most significant difference, and that's what we want to hear about. So please reach out. Untethered@gmail.com or Asif at the LBMA. Last thing, our resource of the week, Asif. We're not gonna destroy this, but hey, you know what? It turns out that mobile ad click-throughs, well, they rise as users get closer to the location they're trying to get to. And I would say to you, click-through rates don't matter. But let's talk about this.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's an interesting study. So this is coming out of Yellow Pages Group. Put this data out. They're basically saying that mobile ad click-through rates rise 1.48 times higher than the average rate when a user gets to within 1 to 2 miles away from a business. So the idea that they're going for here is the closer you get to approaching the business that you want to get to, or whatever business that is the target. Yeah, you get a higher click-through rate on people are actually responding to the mobile ad. I'm with you, Rob. I'm not sure the click-through is what matters here. What matters is that you're getting engagement. People are buying products. Money's being spent. There's a lot of other things that I think are much more relevant than this. But the point with any of these kinds of studies like this is from an advertiser perspective or an ad agency perspective that's representing a brand is if you need some data to support, a decision, here's some data to support a decision. There you go.
You've got your data.
Spin it however you want.
You've got your data. You can spin it any way you want, but know this, that when they talk about click-through rates, which you see up here, mobile ad click-throughs rise as users get closer. When you start talking click-through rates, it might be fine for this year. It might be fine right now. A year from now, you got to change that language. It is not about click-through rates. It is not about banner ads. It is not display advertising. That is all going to die. It can't die fast enough. And quite frankly, the challenge I have with this data is that, they say, listen, definitively, hey, click-through rates rise as users get closer. And then they say when they're between 0 and 1 mile away, the click-through rate actually declines from when they were from 1 to 2 miles away, which doesn't make any sense. You can't do a conclusive, you can't suggest that it's conclusive if the closer I get, if I'm standing 3 feet away and in fact the click-through rates have gone down. Doesn't work. Don't believe this. Click-through rates are bullshit. get over it. We got to move past this, or else we are going to get stuck in the whole garbage web world where 1.4% click-through rates.
Let's look at metrics like, did it increase my footfall? What was the numbers there? How many people checked in at the store? How many people, if I pushed a deal to them, how many people redeemed the deal? And when I redeemed that deal, how many people did I share that deal with? There's a whole bunch of other metrics that I think are much more relevant than this. Yeah. And quite frankly, this data, while I could see how you could spin it in some ways to support a spend decision, it's really deceptive.
It is. And Yellow Pages, consider your source. Like, the Yellow Pages, right? This is about advertising for those guys. They're trying to hold on to the last piece of the thing that made them all that money in the 80s, right? Where you used to pay to be in the Yellow Pages. Now, most of you out there who are listening to this don't even know what the Yellow Pages is anymore, right? So, have never had a Yellow Pages land on your doorstep, and have never actually had to refer to Yellow Pages. So, you got to think about where the source is coming from. These guys want you to advertise with them in their network. So, you know what? I'm going to call eject gong bullshit on this whole thing, and let's carry on without understanding what a click-through rate is. Let's just not even learn. Next generation of entrepreneur, next generation of business should never hear the word click-through rate. That's my view. Just like the Yellow Pages, you'll never know what a Yellow Pages actually is other than Yellow Pages Company. All right, so roast it up.
I like it.
All right, that was our resource of the week. Mobile ad click-throughs rise as users get closer. Focus on metrics, folks. Just focus on the things that you know are going to drive your business. Who cares if they click on your banner ad? What product did they buy? As Asif said, right? What's the conversion rate? How much money did it make you? That's what you guys should be focused on. What a way to celebrate Bruce Springsteen's birthday, man. The only thing that could have been...
Now go out and buy a Kit Kat already.
Go buy a Kit Kat. Go listen to Bruce. Eat some chocolate. Win 10,000 pounds and follow this guy everywhere, right? That's exactly what you...
And find a gorilla with big lips.
This is exactly... These are the lessons you've learned today on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Well, I appreciate you guys sticking around throughout this whole show. We love the feedback that we're getting. Hit us up with some more. We love the tweet love that we're getting. We are now syndicated on the Wireless Industry Professionals website, which is great. Thank you guys. Welcome to that audience. We really appreciate being a part of this website. We love what Carolyn and her team are doing over there. And of course, we are always syndicated it's Friday, right? With Street Fight Mag. We love being a part of the Street Fight Mag family as well. Obviously, what we're doing is we're hitting a nerve here and we're filling a sweet spot with this podcast. So it's thanks to you guys, the fine viewers, the fine listeners, the fine contributors, and you, the companies out there that are taking a gamble and doing these things, that allowing us to criticize the hell out of them. We really appreciate you letting us do that.
By the way, if anybody else is out there, any other media organizations that are listen to this, and you want to syndicate it to, just reach out to us. We're very open to that kind of thing. We're happy to share the content.
We're spreading the wealth. So we will do this again next week for episode number 97. The last one in September. Man, God, I can't believe it already. We will be here for next week's episode number 97 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Until then, safe travels. And please, send us your stories. We'd love to feature them. Asif, have a great week, my man. Enjoy LA.
You too, Rob.
See everybody.